The kitchen and bath. Okay, we're back recording again. We're back here with Bobby Graham, Finish Carpenter Extraordinaire. And Bobby was just telling us about tooling up, right?
Yeah.
Initially, way back when, at least 30 years ago, you got a skill saw at a pawn shop. Good idea. You know, I never talked to him about that, but it's a great place for deals.
Just go get,
Great place for deals.
Doesn't have to be brand new and, you know, the most expensive thing, you just got to be able to...
Bags, and what else did you get? What else did you amass? And then, as you're telling us how you amass tools, how did you learn Finish?
Let's see, so I got the tools just through pawn shops, just watching, seeing what, you know, what the other guys were using.
Yeah.
And then I actually ended up working for a contractor, Pacific Woodworks, down in Agora. And he saw potential and decided to put me in hock. So he, you know, basically bought a bunch of my bigger tools, my, you know, first big 12-inch chop saw. Got me tooled up to start doing, you know, high-end trim. By then I'd already been doing like pre-hung doors.
So he saw that you could do the work, and he was willing to invest in tools, and you paid him back as you...
Right, but at that point I'd already done like track work, like hanging doors.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, pretty basic stuff. You just need your nail gun and your compressor, really.
Yeah, when I started hanging doors,
Used to be
we
like
didn't have
chicken.
those.
Yeah, so yeah. And just, you know, after that, just your specialty tools, just see what you want and what you need, and then, you know, you start making money.
So your chop saw, a 12-inch sliding compound miter saw, pretty important to a Finish guy.
It is now, yeah.
These days, for sure. I mean, it's the tool, right? I mean, mine was a 9-inch Rockwell chop saw. That was my chop saw, right?
Yeah, the cabinet guys have a 14 or 15-inch, just stationary. We use the slide. The first ones were the Hitachi.
The Hitachi slides. And listen, cutting crown molding on the flat revolutionized crown molding for me, I'm telling you. Then holding it up with my 14-inch Hitachi, with the guard off and holding that thing up.
That big old blade just right in front of your face. At first I was like, oh, this is amazing.
You know, and it's funny, I did some big sprung cove in my house a year or two ago, and I had some guys, and they didn't know about cutting on the flat, and they both had sliding compound saws, and you got positive stops in there at 31.9 and the numbers for cutting crown.
Well, that's actually, I started with the DeWalt, and you can do a 6-inch crown on there, standing up.
Right.
So
12-inch
I ran hundreds, thousands of feet, and then somebody's like, hey man.
And did you cope? Do you cope your inside miters?
Do not cope. Can't cope.
No?
No. I've always just mitered them.
So do you figure out the angles and fudge the angles?
Yeah, some people swear by the coping for maybe stain grade.
Yeah.
I just don't. Basically I make a mock-up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get my perfect 45
Right.
mock-up, and then I go up there, mark my lines, so I have the bottom and the top, so I can see where things are going, chalk a line, but that mock-up will also
Tell you what the corner's doing.
if it's open or if it's tight.
Yeah.
And then from there I just kind of...
You know, they have a angle, with an angle finder on the charts for the degrees for cutting it on the flat, you know, you make that corner out to be 89 or 87 or 91 or 93. It'll tell you what degree to adjust to that to get your miter split.
At one point I did have a little angle finder.
Yeah.
But it was actually so sloppy that I didn't really trust it. You know?
Yeah.
It was basically 3 pieces that just kind of slid and opened, but I just feel with what I have, the way I do it.
Well, I get it. You've got a mock-up that's 90, and you know what your wall's going to do if it's not 90.
I mean, I go about 3 feet, 3 feet, so it's actually pretty big.
Yeah.
So I can tell if it's really going away from me, or if it's just a low spot, or if it's just build up of mud.
But I'm surprised no coping, because coping, man, I love to cope. It's like magic when I learned how to cope.
Yeah, no coping. There's just, for me, I don't like it. It takes too long. I think guys master it, and they're good at it. Yeah,
when the guys are mastering and are good at it, it doesn't take as long, but it's sure as hell not as fast as chopping a miter with yourself.
Yeah, you also get a lot more, I feel with the miter, you get, you know, just glue.
Yeah.
So it really locks
True,
really well.
true. You get a really good glue surface. So I'm just been following your career here. Now you're tooled up. You're with this guy. You've been with him. He's training into just some of the finer aspects of finish work. And what sort of things do you really like to do? And what sort of things did you specialize in as you were coming up?
Crown.
Crown moldings, like multiple buildups and cornices. And,
yeah, exactly.
Because you cannot cope a cornice.
We started out doing exteriors out of Lake Sherwood for Pacific Woodworks and Smith Brothers. You know, Pacific Woodwork was actually mantles and woodwork, but the Crown and a lot of where I got basically my start is at Lake Sherwood. So there's a lot of Victorian, so there's a lot of mock-ups or build-ups, a lot of belly bands.
Yeah. Wainscotings.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't do a whole lot of wainscoting.
How about built-up trims?
Yeah.
Multiple piece trim.
Multiple
Yeah.
piece trims, yeah.
Yeah, that's you can really do some jazz
Nice
stuff.
pediment.
Yeah.
Nice pediment on top.
Pediments and architraves.
Basically crown again.
Yeah, yeah, true enough. True enough, crown. Lots of uses for crown molding, and crown molding,
Yeah, I can thousands, miles and miles and miles of crown for several years, yeah.
and so when when you're hanging long pieces of, say, like a 5 3/4 inch colonial crown, 16-foot pieces of MDF, are you doing that by yourself, or are you using a
By
helper?
myself, usually by myself.
So you usually get a nail to hold it up, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go through with my thing to find all my, my lines and stuff, chop the line so it stays nice and straight.
so you've got a system, I take it,
Yeah.
for doing that stuff, and
Long
moving
walls.
one direction, long walls first, yeah.
Do a long wall, get a 100-foot stick, boom, go into the corner, make my mark, and then usually you're within tape measure distance at that point.
Yeah,
Tape to that mark and do the math and come up with your measurement. Yeah, just basically a really cheap helper. Just a little nail or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just hold that so it goes tucks in the corner and come over to the middle and.
That
know,
makes
that's
you
how
a
it gets
very
across.
valuable man, because a lot of guys, they will not hang crown without a helper, and they're dragging around, they're getting X, and their helper's getting at least X divided by half,
Yeah,
but
I
at
used
least.
to do piecework, so it'd be like about 25.
Yeah, and so
Way too cheap.
are we doing piecework anymore? Is anybody paying anybody piecework? Because you hear it's illegal, I mean, but it's not illegal to do piecework, providing the guy you're paying piecework is making at least X amount.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
in contract law, they say it's illegal to, in other words, you can't tell a guy, I'm gonna give you X amount and have him make less than minimum wage. So as long as he's
Oh, God.
making minimum wage, then,
Well, okay.
You're
That
fine.
is part of the agreement.
I know. So how does that work? You have to some guarantee minimum, like for me.
Well, I've never been the one to just be like, I've always made money. I've always preferred piecework.
Yeah.
I've always made more money.
Yeah,
But sometimes you do, just things don't go right and you have a really bad day. And it's like contracting. Sometimes you just don't make money. It
Yeah.
just doesn't go right.
yeah, it can be part of the game.
that-
Unless you're working by the hour, then you're making money.
Yeah, well, and somebody can also be losing money if you're not doing it right or making mistakes, doing things 3 times over.
You could conceivably be making or losing money for somebody else. That's for sure.
Sorry.
So crown molding seems to be your forte, but along with that,
Crown molding and doors.
indoors, hanging and hardwaring doors too. You got to be pretty versed at hardware.
Yeah,
Putting on hardware, Baldwin hardware. Do you have a full mortise boring jig?
No, that is one high dollar item that I do not have.
But you know how to use them,
I know how to use it.
because we have one.
And, oh really?
The company has one. Yeah. I
Yeah,
bought it.
actually it needs a little bit of love.
It does.
I usually just make up a template and, get my shoulders, and then I bore it and chisel it and make it clean, so, yeah.
Yeah, but there's nothing like a.
Yeah, $1,500, and the full mortises, 5, maybe under 10 in my whole lifetime.
Yeah,
$1,500, yeah.
Generally around here, we do them for entries, but I've done them in houses that every lock was mortised, but I bought mine to do a bank in Ventura.
Oh, really?
And I got X amount for the first mortise and X amount for the next 40, and that
Right.
thing paid for itself in 2 days.
Right, on
That
that job,
paid for itself
essentially.
forever,
Yeah.
on that job.
No,
Which I've always been willing to buy a tool.
Right, yeah, no, I have borrowed one once, but found I just didn't really need it. Yeah, I did a pocket door a little while back that had full mortise, but it just doesn't come up that often.
Yeah.
And now, lots of times they'll come already mortised. They're just,
True enough, and like I've been telling the class, if you can get a factory to do it, or if you can buy it made, then that's what you should do. And it's just like job hanging doors. It's like, unless you feel like paying a lot of money, you should hang pre-hung doors. You should have a factory pre-hang your doors. Because we can't hang doors as cheap as a factory can hang doors. Can we?
that's true, but I can hang a better door than the factory.
Okay.
I'm
so-
sorry, I'm gonna argue with you.
No, but are you, but you've got to admit, you probably can't do it for the money
Absolutely.
Right?
No, absolutely not.
But you got perfect reveals and your mortises
Yeah,
are
what I
great.
did, these doors that you got came out actually quite nice.
Good.
What comes from the factory sometimes, or more often than not, are pockets that are too deep,
Yeah,
pockets that are too
yeah.
shallow.
You mean your mortises?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the nice thing about, this is a small company in Buellton that hangs these doors for BMC. So they're actual real guys, not
Right.
guys that get off the street to run these big,
Right.
machines that pre-hang doors and they.
Or just somebody in the shop quickly trying to get
Yeah,
as many,
just-
basically working for peace, trying to get as many
Yeah.
done as possible and not really giving a damn how it comes
Yeah,
out.
so the material is one thing, having a well-hung pre-hung door. When you get to a job site and you are doing pre-hungs, do you hang them on the bench and hang them? What's your technique for job hanging doors?
For job hanging, like KD,
Yeah,
I
or
actually-
just starting
I use-
out
I
with-
just use, I use the crotch, put my door down in, get the bevel on it, and I actually set my jam and then I'll come and do the pockets after that.
do you set your whole jam first and nail it up before you hang your door, or do you set your lat side, hang your door, and then shim to your inside?
It depends on the situation. If I'm able to, then I will hang the whole door. But if it's something that I need to install, case, let them paint, and then they come back and do the doors, because, just they'll come in later on or whatever. Obviously, not putting the door in at that time. And even then, sometimes I won't mortise. I'll leave the pockets out, because you do the mortise, and then the painter comes in, and he just buries.
Yeah.
Puts a bunch of paint in there,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden your stuff's proud. Or whatever.
Yeah, which is the reason I was thinking about having you put the hardware on here, but it's just gonna,
Yeah, might as well wait.
let the painters do their thing, otherwise they gotta take it off, and then they're gonna lose something, and they're
Right,
gonna
you're
wind up
right,
in a
right,
big
right.
box.
Screws or parts or whatever. Yeah.
All that stuff's gonna happen. So, in finish work, finish carpentry, what's the thing besides crown molding? What are the thing, when you think of yourself as a finish carpenter, I mean, do you think of the jobs that you've done? I mean, the reason why I'm saying this is because part of what I tell the class, for me, some of the joy of doing what I've been doing is that over the years, I have products that are in the real world that I can go and visit. Like restaurants and
Right.
commercial buildings. I can go to somebody's house
Right.
or my house, the stuff I've done in my house,
Right.
and it's like the crown moldings and my mantle. It's like there is
I do have some stuff at my home.
nothing as satisfying as having that in the real world that lasts.
Right. I mean, that's, my grandfather actually did Caddyshack the movie.
Really?
So that is kind of what you're talking about.
So he did the set deck and all that stuff?
Yeah, the green that they blew up,
Yeah, yeah.
well, they actually built a facade to blow up so they wouldn't run the
Yeah,
green.
yeah, yeah.
But he used way too much dynamite and actually blew a crater into the golf course.
And this,
So
and was that, it was Sherwood too, right?
I don't know where they filmed that at, actually.
I think it was.
It was a
I think
pretty
it was,
nice.
I love
high-end place.
Sherwood. Sherwood is so killer.
Yeah.
So what are any pitfalls? Anything you want to tell the class to look out for as a finished carpenter? What things that you've done over the years that you wish you hadn't done, or things that you wish you had done?
Thinking you're better than you are. Yeah, you can get pretty confident and then
Yeah.
get yourself really in a
And then
bind.
anybody can mess something up bad anytime,
Right,
right?
yeah. Thinking you're better than you are will get you in a bind real quick and get you kind of embarrassed. Don't move around too much. Find a good home and with other good craftsmen and learn from them. Watch, be humble,
Yeah,
listen, and always, never. I still learn. Still
yeah.
learn.
No, and you do too.
Yeah.
You can't know it all. Do you ever use pinch dogs to hold your outside
Yeah,
miters?
booming clamps.
Yeah.
Yeah, miter clamps. Absolutely.
We've got a bunch of those, they're German spring steel and
Yeah.
thing, but Jerry DeHoog, this guy's Finnish guy that
I got one in my pocket actually.
he works a lot in Santa Barbara, very high-end guy, he does, he usually hangs doors for us, yeah, those. He's got them, he's had them made up in spring steel, so they're just clamps with handles, so you can just
Yeah, that'd be great.
individuals.
That'd be great.
So if you're interested, he patented them, he's
Yeah, I
got
would love to. Yeah, because you
'Cause
start
they're-
fumbling around with that.
that thing, because these are killer, just boom,
You
boom.
grab it, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Really nice.
It's a cool thing. It's a cool miter clamp, and see what else can we talk
That's
about?
actually a
here?
great thing to purchase. That is something I forgot that I purchased pretty much right away when I went.
Yeah, and
Pacific Woodworks was all woodworking and high-end stuff, and they
And so-
actually kind of required it.
and you glue your miters. You glue everything, which is kind of the school of thought I'm from. There are people that aren't in that school of thought. I am definitely in the glue school. It just gives you that extra bit of holding something together that maybe.
You're supposed to, and if you don't, you're doing it wrong. I mean, that's
Yeah,
really,
okay.
in my opinion.
You could venture to say that. Say hi, Rocky. Okay,
Yeah,
so,
glue is, stronger than the wood. You start taking things apart, and you'll actually separate the wood, so it's a good thing to do.
yeah, glue's great. And really, a glue joint that's done properly will break, the wood will break before the glue will break, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, God, I don't know, and what else I can ask you here, Bobby? I sure appreciate your time and telling us about finished work, and if there's anything else you want to tell this class about finished work, we'll probably come back and see some of your doors hanging, maybe tomorrow,
Okay,
and,
well, they better come out good.
yeah,
It's actually pretty fulfilling. You build a cabinet, build something wonderful, and
Yeah.
install it, you get some, good feeling.
do you do DIY stuff? Do you have a shop at home, or do you do stuff like
I
that?
work out of my garage. I have, a nice big table saw there and
Yeah.
sub shop there. Do some vanities, some entertainment centers.
Yeah,
Stuff like
there's
that.
most of the guys I know